Hi friends, what are the best guns for noobs in Apex Legends? That's what I'm going to cover in today's video. Actually, this isn't just for noobs. There are lots of seasoned Apex Legends players that have played for a long time but still find it hard to hit shots. Well, choosing the right gun can solve that for you. I'm going to pick one gun from each weapon category, show you the recoil pattern along with some tips and why it's a good gun to help you hit more shots. Let me know which weapons you would recommend to noobs in the comments down below of this video. Let's start with the assault rifle category, and I would say assault rifles are probably the best go-to category if you're kind of a noob or perhaps not the best with your shots. For me, the R301 is irreplaceable. There is a reason this was one of the most used weapons by the pros in the last ALGS championships. The R301 is just one of the most reliable weapons in Apex Legends due to its fast fire rate but solid damage output per mag. It's also one of the easiest weapons to use because the recoil pattern is very simple, making it great for noobs and those that struggle to hit their shots. You can see the recoil pattern here, and it's more or less straight up, with a slight pulling to the right, and that means you can control the R301's recoil really simply by pulling down and very slightly to the left. The flatline is very close in this category, but as the R301 has a faster fire rate, it's almost 40% faster than the flatline. Plus it's got a slightly easier to control recoil if you look at the recoil pattern side by side, and therefore I think it just takes it as the go-to weapon for noobs in Apex Legends. Next, let's jump to SMGs. I've gone with the alternator as my noob friendly recommendation in the SMG category. I wouldn't say it's the best SMG in terms of fire rate, but it does have the highest damage per bullet out of all the SMGs, and that means it is a little bit more forgiving if you miss a shot or two compared to something like the R99. The main reason I think the alternator is great for noobs in Apex Legends is due to the easy to control recoil, and while the R99 is also quite simple because it's just pretty much straight down to control the recoil, because it fires so fast you've got to be much better and more accurate when you're controlling that recoil compared to something like the alternator where there's a little bit more leniency when you're trying to control that recoil, and that's why I think it's just a little bit of an easier SMG to use all round for those of you that either can't hit your shots very accurately or if you're just new to the game. Moving on to the LMGs, it's got to be the Spitfire. LMGs in general are noob friendly thanks to the larger magazines, but the Spitfire in season 14 is kind of the only real viable LMG, and the main reason for that is because the devotion's in the crafter and the rampage is in the care package. Now I might have said the L star because the larger bullets can help you hit more shots, but the nerfs in recent seasons make it a little bit more temperamental compared to something like the Spitfire. You can pretty much just spray bullets with the Spitfire and still do decent damage. Next we've got the Marksman category. It was a close one here between the G7 Scout and the Triple Take. The Triple Take's good because you can spray your shots with it and also use it like a shotgun when you're up close. I just think that noobs or people with average aim aren't necessarily going to have the skill set to use the Triple Take in this way though, and that's why I think the G7 Scout might be slightly better for noobs in Apex Legends. It's got a solid damage output per bullet and a very fast fire rate considering it's a marksman weapon, and that makes it a really effective mid-range weapon but also has the potential at long range and even up close if you're hip firing. Plus it's got a fairly big magazine giving you some forgiveness if you're missing shots. Plus the recoil pattern isn't too bad, again it's more or less straight up. Because you're firing one bullet at a time, it's pretty easy to control. Moving on to snipers, I would say the charged rifle is probably the best option here. You simply point and shoot it without much recoil or aiming sway. In fact, I think it's probably one of the most simple weapons to use in Apex Legends, and for sure it's one of the most annoying. The longbow's close because the faster fire rate and larger magazines can really help, but I feel with the bullet drop at range, the longbow's just a little bit harder for noobs to use, and when you compare it to the hit scan nature of the charged rifle, it's going to be so much easier if your aim's not amazing to at least hit some damage with the charged rifle. Let's jump on to shotguns. It's got to be the EVA 8 here, particularly in season 14 after all the buffs it's had. I don't disagree that the Peacekeeper and Mastiff are exceptionally strong, but I do feel there's a lot more skill involved if you're using one of those weapons. On the flip side to that, the EVA 8 is fully automatic and it's got a wider spread burst that makes it relatively easy for people with average aim to at least deal some damage to enemies. Plus, with the faster fire rate that it's been given this season, it's become the fastest firing shotgun, and with the purple shotgun bolt, it's also one of the most effective weapons up close in season 14. So I think it's got to be the go-to shotgun if you're new to Apex Legends, or perhaps your aim's not amazing, then the EVA 8's a good one for you if you want a shotgun. Finally, onto pistols. I'm torn between the P2020 and the RE45 here. I don't think the Wingman's great for noobs or people with average aim, but it is definitely one of the most powerful weapons in the game, especially when you've got a skull piercer on it. But you do need a high level of skill to use this weapon effectively. And for noobs, I think you're going to have a better time with the RE45 or the P2020. The only slight thing I would say about the RE45 is that its recoil pattern is a little bit tricky sometimes, and that's mainly due to the skewed recoil pattern which you can see. Hopefully this all helps you get more kills and wins in Apex Legends. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you later.